What's going on, Lakers fans, and welcome into episode 43 of the LakeShow Flow. I am your host, Gio. As the Lakers get another huge win out in the Wild Wild West in an absolute war against the Houston Rockets, beating them 104-98, improving their home record to 29-9 and their overall record to 46-29. And as I said, it was a huge win out west. Before we get into the game, though, I just want to say, if you're new here or you've been here, please remember to show your support on the channel. Any and all support is appreciated. Click the like button, leave me a comment down below, share it with your friends, and subscribe if you are new. And this makes back-to-back wins for the Lakers a huge response after the heartbreaker, the absolute mess that occurred in Chicago. We move on 2 more games past that. So now mentally we can, I feel like winning always heals everything, right? So like I said, a huge win just to keep their, hopes alive to somehow grab the 2nd seed. Houston is currently the 2nd seed, so they move another game closer to getting that. They're just a half game back from the Nuggets, who are the 3rd seed, and they do have the tiebreaker there. And they're getting closer to somehow getting the advantage over Houston. They do have to play them again, basically in another week. So this game mattered a lot, and you could just tell that the atmosphere was just playoff-like, And despite that atmosphere, the Lakers' defense showed up. They matched the defensive aggression that Houston comes with. Houston's a great team. Like, the Lakers didn't just beat there was a stigma with the Rockets for a long time that they're just not that good, right? But every single year that they've had this young core and they've been developing, they've gotten better and better. Ime Udoka has this team taking over his identity. He's a feisty coach, and you could see it even in the stats. The numbers don't lie. They're top 3 in ejections and technical fouls, and I forgot what else, but they're up there, and that just shows the attitude and the aggression of a team. And I feel like they take after their coach, and it's not a bad thing, honestly. I mean, you have a player like Dillon Brooks out there. A lot of people don't like him, but you would love him if he was a Laker. Just like when we have these players like Ron Artest back in the day. I hated when Kobe had to deal with him trying to get in his head every game, and ironically, he was a Rocket at the time. But then when he was on the Lakers, I loved him, right? So that's the type of players that Houston has. They have a mix of those type of players like Dillon Brooks, and then they have the young core. And Amen Thompson he shined a lot too in this game. But let's get into the players that really shine for the Lakers. And despite the atmosphere, despite the feel of this playoff, the vibes that were going on, Dorian Finney-Smith and Gabe Vincent were the heroes of this game. And they just went off. They were both scoring at a high rate. They were both taking advantage of the defense's efforts to stop LeBron, Luka, and Reeves. And they end up off the bench combining for a combined 6 for 24. I'm sorry, 6. They each had 6. They combined for 12 for 24 from 3-point range, which was insane. They both finished with 20 points overall. And that was much needed. This game, you could just tell the Rockets' strategy was to take away the paint penetration that the Lakers are good at. And that, that pretty much mitigates some of the free throws that the Lakers get because they get fouled a lot when they're driving. And they basically closed off the paint so that nobody was getting in there. Not even Jackson Hayes was able to play to his strengths. And that opened up the floor for Gabe Vincent and Dorian Finney-Smith. And for confidence purposes, as a Laker fan, it's just nice to see that these guys are capable despite the environment, despite the pressure, despite the fact that the team was really relying on them to make these shots and having to take what the defense was giving them. They were able to deliver. And to me, that is just a good sign going forward that they can shine in these moments. And yeah, I mean, I've always been a fan of Dorian Finney-Smith. We've been waiting for Gabe Vincent to really step up in these moments because we've seen him do it before. He was, arguably probably the number 3 in during that Miami Heat's stretch run when they went to the finals. And, he was like number 3, number 4, depending on, how you rank their big 3 at the time, because they had Bam Adebayo, they had Jimmy Butler still, and then they had Tyler Hero. So he was sometimes outperforming Hero. So he was definitely a huge part of that finals run. And now he's showing that maybe he can be a huge part of a potential Lakers finals run. So they showed no fear. They made their shots. And as I said, Houston really made it a point to take away what Luka, Bron, and AR, what they all do best. But fortunately, the defense stepped up. And that goes for pretty much all three names that I mentioned, because they're all limited to some capacity. LeBron James is no longer the MVP level defender that he was back in the day. He's 40 years old, but he played like an MVP level defender today, and he was tasked with guarding arguably at least a top 5, you could even say top 3 big in the at least the West, but even overall. Alperen Sengun is just a monster, and LeBron held him. I mean, overall, he only scored 14 points. Obviously, LeBron wasn't on him for every minute of the game, but that was LeBron's primary assignment. So we got to give a round of applause to the 40-year-old LeBron James, who apparently was sick after the game. I guess he had like a bag of cough drops and some other stuff. He was feeling sick, and I guess he's been sick since they landed in LA again. So shout out to Bron for having his own version of a flu game that wasn't a hangover, because I've heard rumors that the Michael Jordan game was actually a hangover he was having. Either way, impressive performance from MJ back in the day. But this game, for LeBron to not only defend at a high level against one of the best bigs, he basically was tasked with being an AD type level like roamer out there, and he stepped up to the plate and he knocked it out the park. You know what he knocked out the park? He knocked out Alperen Sengun's key bucket at the end when he was trying to go up and he had a mismatch against Austin Reeves. He's backing him down, almost right there, and LeBron comes from the weak side and blocks it. And that's what that's what you want from LeBron when that was his primary guy. They obviously got switched up, right? But he comes back and he gets that block, and that was one of the key things of this game. One of the key plays. This game was full of scenes all around, from the celebrations of every three that was going down for Dorian Finney-Smith and Gabe to, Luka. He actually made Sengun touch earth on one of his crossovers. He literally crossed him to the point where he had to pick himself back up. It was nasty. And then he hits Rui in the corner for a wide open 3. This game was scenes all around, playoff atmosphere, LeBron's block, key free throws. Everybody was happy at the end. And here's the thing. If the Lakers are going to make a run like this, they're going to need to be able to win these type of games. And they've bounced back after that game against Chicago. And even in that game, that was a very tough, grinded out game, even though they had the lead, and it pisses me off that they gave it up. Same thing with Memphis. They had a lead. It pissed me off that they gave it up. Against the Pacers, they had a grinded out win where LeBron had to get the game-winning tip. So the thing is, you might be mad at some of these losses that have shown up on the schedule, but at the same time, to have a team that's going into this playoff run that is battle tested, right? They know how to lose these games, and they know how to move on from these games and then win these games, right? So to me, that's what it's all about. I feel like this team's battle tested. This team knows how to respond after a loss. That's going to be clutch in the playoffs. And what makes the playoffs a little easier, though, is the fact that you're only game planning for one team. And that could be vice versa too, right? But sometimes you can catch teams slipping, especially these young teams. If the Lakers drop like a first game against the Rockets or something in the playoffs, the Rockets might get a little too hype, might get a little too full of themselves. Same thing with Memphis. We've seen it happen where they get too cocky, and the Lakers just have to show their experience. They have to show that zen, that composure, and they end up winning the series because of it. So all I'm saying is I feel like these type of wins definitely help the Lakers in the long run. Even the losses, they help him in the long run because you learn from that. Like LeBron, he battled to the end. He didn't just stop putting the pressure on defense despite, not being on his man. He rotated and got from the weak side. He got that block, right? Even Luka, he had some possessions where obviously he's limited on defense, but he was able to at least stay in front of his assignments most of the time and, make aggressive plays on the ball, at least get, jump balls called. He did that. And shout out to Austin Reeves, man, because on the scoreboard, he only had 12 points. He was relatively efficient. He didn't knock down a 3, but he was 5 for 11 from the field, 8 rebounds, showed some hustle, and 3 assists. But the thing was, Austin Reeves was on Jalen Green most of the game. And I'm not saying that he's responsible for every single bad shot that Jalen Green missed, but Jalen Green ends up 4 for 13, 1 for 4 from 3 with only 9 points, right? Well, the thing is, Jalen Green wasn't even in at the end of the game, like for a large portion. I don't even know if they put him back in, but with 2 minutes to go, a guy that's one of their young stars that's supposed to be like a big, I guess like a big two with Sengun, unless you want to throw in Amen Thompson and make them like a relatively young big three, he wasn't even present. So the Lakers managed to somehow, whether it's just to his own doing or what, but Jalen Green usually performs against the Lakers, but whatever it was, Jalen Green was played off the court in the fourth quarter, and that has a lot to do with defense. JJ talked in the post game, and he talked about how he told the guys, like, if you're boxing out or trying to box out against Sengun or Steven Adams, you're not getting the rebound. That's not your job. Your job is to tip it out. And I saw so much of that. It was just gang rebounding, and that made a huge difference because it wasn't someone trying to go and pad their stats. It was people trying to tip out and let someone else get the rebound, because that's what JJ, made the guys buy into. And for the Stars, like I said, I mean, they weren't having the best, most efficient games. LeBron, obviously, up until those 2 free throws, he only had 14 points, but he did good on defense. He had 8 rebounds, 4 assists with 16 points overall. Austin Reeves, as I said, he only had 12. And then Luka, he had 20 points, 9 assists, 6 rebounds. Not the most efficient game, 6 for 16 overall, and then 1 for 7 from threes. But like I said, Houston wanted anybody but these 3 to score. And that's why, as a product of that, we had Dorian Finney-Smith and Gabe Vincent play their best games of the season up to this point, because you consider the opponent, you consider the atmosphere, you consider the importance. That is what really mattered here. And as I said, the Lakers needed this win. They improved to 29-9 at home, and I heard that was the 3rd best home record in the entire league. So to me, that just shows a lot, because if we do get home court advantage, if we somehow manage, because like I said, we needed this win to keep that 2nd seed hopes alive. If they manage to get it and they have home court against every team except for OKC, I mean, sky's the limit, right? Like, you have to have confidence knowing that your record's 29-9 at home. And we had a couple of those games where the Lakers didn't even play like all their guys. So I'm just saying, there's a lot of hope here. There's a lot of reasons to be hopeful. I'm even hopeful if they end up the 4 seed. I'm hopeful if they end up the 3 seed. But it just amplifies that feeling if they're able to get that home court against any team besides OKC, who's obviously got it locked up for the number 1 overall seed. But one of the most impressive things that I've noticed, and it has a lot to do with, the last loss that happened. There was a meeting, apparently, that I heard about after I recorded my podcast from the last game. And apparently JJ called a meeting, and it reminded me that he called a meeting a while back after the Lakers had that terrible loss against the Miami Heat. They got blown out. I don't even remember the score. It's one of those ones that you just forget, right? But apparently JJ had a meeting with LeBron, and he emphasized that he wanted him to step up his defense, because the team is never going to go anywhere unless LeBron is stepping up and tapping into his defensive potential. And after that, the Lakers were playing one of their best stretches of defense, right? And then now we hear that going into the Memphis game, after dropping that heartbreaker against Chicago, yet another game that you want to forget, right? But in a different way. JJ apparently called a meeting with LeBron, Luka Doncic, and Austin Reeves. And since then, they're obviously 2-0, but not just 2-0 against some scrub teams, right? They're 2-0 against teams that they basically have to beat if they're going to care about seeding, if they're going to go for a top seed. And to me, that's what sticks out about this entire potential of this team, is that JJ has these guys bought in. They're 17 games above 500, something that Darvin Ham could never say. And the thing with JJ that impresses me the most is he inherited a team that had a lot of losing habits, that had a low morale after the Darvin Ham years, where they lost to the same team twice. They got swept against Denver, and then they got gentlemen swept against Denver. And even though that series was relatively close, that still gets into your head. That still lowers morale. That still has there's a stink of losing in that locker room, right? Like, you can't get it done in the big picture. And JJ inherited that. He first gets, LeBron and AD and Reeves, and, D'Lo was on the team. We didn't have Dorian yet. We had Vando, who was injured, and that's, Rui as well. But that's what JJ inherited. Not to mention, they trade his point guard, his starting point guard, for Dorian Finney-Smith. So then Austin Reeves' role gets elevated. You got to incorporate that. And then in the midst of that, when the team's actually playing really good basketball, defense, everything, they're developing Max Christie, all that stuff. In the midst of that, Then they trade Max Christie and Anthony Davis to the Mavericks for a new superstar, Luka Doncic. And you could say, well, that helped JJ, right? Because Luka's obviously better. He was the best the best player in the trade. So he still got a good player. Yeah, he did. But you also have to implement that into your system. You don't have a defensive anchor anymore at the level of AD, and you lose one of the best 3-and-D defenders on the team at the time, right? So in the midst of, incorporating DFS, right? In the midst of adapting to AD's injury at the time, and still winning, still getting things done. Now you get Luka, who's an entirely different player from AD and more similar to AR, more similar to LeBron, and you have to incorporate all three of those to play together and also build a sustainable defensive scheme that's going to be able to work in different ways and complement each other in different ways in order to maximize the potential of what you have. So what I'm saying is JJ's run this year, because everyone, it's easy to forget because there's so much that's happened this year. This is JJ's first year as a coach, and we're damn near the 3 seed, on the hunt for the 2nd seed, 17 games above 500, all these different things that have happened this year, some losing streaks in there, some heartbreakers in there, and JJ Redick has this team still looking like they could beat any team on any given night. The defense looked amazing today. The defense looked pretty good against Memphis. The offensive sets have looked better. The offense in general has moved a lot better. So all I'm saying is shout out to JJ, shout out to Scott Brooks, who's on the coaching staff, Nate McMillan, who's on the coaching staff. I forget the other two. There's a lady on the coach from the WNBA. She's had success as well in her career there. She's been good too. And another coach, I forgot his name. But either way, this entire staff, it's all, cogs on the same wheel. They're all doing their job to keep the engine running. And it's not easy to coach up these players, but they listen. So after those 2 meetings, you see winning coming out of it. That just shows that the players listen, they take JJ seriously, and they want to perform for him after he calls them out. And after he emphasizes things, they want to take him serious. They want to win for him. They want to run through a brick wall for him, right? But yeah, I just had to touch on that because I think JJ Redick is my coach of the year. Obviously, I'm a Laker fan, so I'm going to say that. But realistically, damn, he has been having these guys playing insane on both sides of the ball. And to me, as a rookie head coach, to damn near be the 3rd seed and in the hunt for the 2nd seed, you got to give your flowers to JJ Redick. And he already went on record saying that he wants to be the Lakers coach for like 15 to 20 years. I think that was a quote. And damn, if that's our coach for that long and he builds a legacy, just imagine him and Luka having the pedigree, having the hardware to say like, yeah, this is their, 10th year together potentially, and they're going for like their 3rd championship. Like, that's on the table. I'm just letting y'all know it's on the table. And I don't know. I believe in this team. I believe in JJ. I believe in Luka. Obviously, I believe in LeBron right now because he's still here, but I'm thinking even after LeBron, like who comes next to team up with AR, to team up with Luka? It's just exciting times, and that's not even to look past this year. Like, the Lakers have been playing with house money in a way because they made the trade for Luka, and a lot of people thought, well, they don't have a starting center. The defense might suffer because of it. They might not be a true contender this year. Just this year's kind of a wash. Don't expect too much. And look at them right now. They look like they can beat any team any given night, and I truly believe that they can. And JJ having this team overcome that boogeyman, overcoming the kukui that was Denver, it's been magical, honestly, because now I think this team knows, okay, we could beat Denver. We even almost beat Denver without everybody, only just AR carrying, the bench units, and even some role players weren't playing. Now, like, what team's going to scare us, really? You have to give respect to your opponent, obviously, but I think OKC, they're very young. Luka beat them last year on his road to the finals with the Mavericks. The only team that I feel is definitely just the scariest, because OKC is going to be scary. I'm not saying they're not, but at least you have a player that beat them before, right? And they're younger, and they haven't been to the finals yet. So you have LeBron, Luka, who have been there, AR, who even has more playoff experience than some of their players, and I'm just saying that's a good matchup, I think. And you go to the Eastern Conference, I don't know. Cleveland's got the size. Cleveland's scary. The Knicks, they battled against the Lakers when they came to LA and played. But I don't know. Boston, that's probably the top dog that would scare me the absolute most, because I know how deep that team is, just thinking about their roster. I've said it out loud on a couple podcasts before. They have a deep roster. It's pretty insane. But as of right now, like I said, the Lakers stay in the hunt for the 2 seed. They can realistically get it if they could somehow beat the Rockets again, if they can somehow manage to beat the OKC next week, and hopefully OKC is already in a spot where maybe they can give us a little break. I would like to see one game where it's like full strength, and if we lose, we lose. But I'd also like to see if they can give their players a rest, since they probably got the number 1 seed overall locked up, home court against everybody. If they got that locked up, give us one. Give us a little gimme, because then maybe the Rockets could lose a few games that nobody's expecting them to lose, and then the Lakers sneak into at least the 2 seed. I won't say at least the 2 seed, but to the 2 seed, and then maybe at least the 3 seed, right? Because Denver, I don't know. Denver's been a little shaky with injuries, right? But as I said, a key win. The Lakers look great on both sides of the ball. The offense obviously struggled a bit because of the defensive schemes that Ime Udoka employed to his teams. And outside of that, though, the defense stepped up, role players stepped up. That's what you need to win playoff games. Having a DFS, having a Gabe Vincent that are not afraid of the moment. Luka and JJ said that Dorian doesn't even shoot enough to begin with. I think they said that they're asking JJ about it, and they said that he shot 11 threes, and he said he should have shot 14. And even Luka, in his post game, he said that he should have shot more too, because he told him that if he's not going to shoot, then Luka said, then I'll shoot. So that's the encouraging, camaraderie that this team has, and the morale's high. And I think guys are going to start believing in themselves more. The more that Luka encourages, the more JJ, LeBron, Austin, when the top guys need an outlet pass, when the top guys need a bailout in a way because the defense is collapsing, these guys need to be threats, because that'll just open up the floor for everybody else. So I hope this game did that. I hope this game injected a little fear, knowing like, okay, we haven't seen Dorian and Gabe do this until now, but they can do it. So maybe in the playoffs, teams will dare them a little less, which will open up the floor. The game slows down in the playoffs. Luka loves that, because Luka has those breaks. Luka has that finesse game. And even LeBron loves that a little bit, because he's 40 years old. And Austin, he has more of a finesse style too, even though he has such a quick first step sometimes. It's pretty nasty. But as I said, a huge game, a huge win. Playoff atmosphere all around. And now the Lakers get the Warriors. That's the card that they draw for themselves on Thursday night. They play the Warriors, and it is at home again. So you know how the Lakers play at home. They can get their 30th home win of the season, which would be huge. I hope to see that the role players step up again. Maybe Luka and LeBron could have better games. They don't really have people that could just completely shut them down. And AR as well. Even if they do manage to put Jimmy to slow down, Luka or LeBron, who's going to guard AR, right? So it's going to be a fun game. I think the way Golden State's been playing, they've been looking like a team ready for the playoffs. I think the Jimmy, the trade, even though they signed him to a huge, crazy contract, I think it has paid off for them, because Curry's not getting any younger. You give him a guy that he can trust to take some of the load off of his shoulders, and I think it could be a good run for them too. But I just don't think they have enough. I'll be disappointed if the Lakers lose to them on Thursday after winning these last two. But we'll just have to wait and see. But I will be back with my podcast on that game. But yeah, I think I could put a bow on this one. As I said, huge implications going forward. The Lakers need to win every game that they possibly can. They got some tough matchups coming up, but I believe in this team, and you should too. But that's going to do it for the Lake Show Flow. And before I go, I just want to say, if you're new here or you've been here, please continue to show your support. Any like, any comment, any time that someone puts share, anytime someone subscribes, all those, I don't care if it's +1 every 5 episodes. Everything counts, and I appreciate any and all support. But that's going to do it for the Lake Show Flow, and we'll see you guys next time.